Rick Horrow, Facebook Live. I probably shouldn't have this today, right? Because this is for the world. This is a spirit of camaraderie and patriotism and everybody loving each other. Well, to heck with that. So if I've just lost half my audience, so be it. The bottom line is the 41st Ryder Cup. We're here in Chaska, Minnesota at Hazeltine National, and this is a course of the ages. We'll have a chance to talk about some of that as well. You can hear the cheering in the background. This is the Ryder Cup final Sunday. The most amazing thing about the cheering in the background is the round just started with 12 singles matches starting at 11 o'clock, and it'll be done probably 6 or maybe earlier than that. The Americans holding a 3-point lead. We can't talk about the results on the course because there are rights issues, so we won't do that. But I will tell you that you can hear the cheering in the background, the practice green right there. We'll do that in a minute. But these hardy folks have been here since 5 in the morning today, and they've been cheering since the sun's come up, and that's the 18th hole, which means they won't get to see any golf until 4 hours from now, and they may not even, because match play may be decided earlier than the 18th hole. Bottom line is, this is crazy for business, not just golf. 60 million of us to 70 million play worldwide, according to the National Golf Foundation, and about 25 million are avid golfers, play more than 10 rounds a year. This event itself, 630 million homes in 200 countries, and all of them are watching. And by the way, they're not watching because they know anything about golf. They're watching because this is a very, very unique mix of sports, patriotism, and big business from a domestic and an international perspective. We'll talk about a lot of different things, including the internal and what the workings of a $70 billion business in the United States, $4 billion in charity monies, and how to grow the game with the kids and with the females and with the millennials. But we're talking about international high-end golf promotion, and we have with us a special guest, a friend, someone that I've enjoyed working with for a number of years, Bill Hogan. Bill Hogan is one of the top executives at Premier Golf, and he'll tell you a little bit about what the company does. But Bill has been in the industry 200, 300 years and played over 54 country golf courses. I'm asking you to name all the specifics. Does Antarctica count as a country?
No golf in Antarctica, or else I would have done it by now, Rick.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So, Bill Hogan, thank you for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Talk a little bit about the growth of international golf. We'll work our way into your business as well, but talk about that first.
It's been exponential, really. If you think back since about the year 2008, when the business in North America kind of died down, all the growth in golf around the world has primarily been international. All throughout Asia, now in India, in Eastern Europe, golf is just booming all over the place, and so it's good to see that in certain parts of the world it is going strong, and frankly I think there might be a little uptick in America here coming again soon.
Is the uptick related to the economic rebound? Is the uptick related to Jordan Spieth and Patrick Reed and the superstars, or is it maybe both?
It's a little bit of both. That's a very good question, and I think that if you track the Dow Jones Industrial Average in North America, you'll see golf spend go right along with it, Rick. And so I think there's a little bit of that, and the young guns, the Patrick Reeds, the Jordan Spieths. You know, I have 2 young boys, and they really look up to those guys, and so I think the timing is right to bring it back here in North America.
Speaking of young boys, we're going to do a shout out early. You're important, but the guy on the other end of the microphone and camera is incredibly important. Grant Hogan, the executive producer for the day of this event. So if you see a problem with the camera or anything else, blame me, but he's the guy that's making the magic work. So thank you for donating your kid.
That's right. He's a good worker.
Yeah, clearly. And I love the wages, by the way. The wage structure is pretty darn good for this as well.
That's right.
Although we'll see what happens with you down the road. Listen, you've done 25 years in this business or even more, and so a lot of gloom and doomers, including some of the people at Reuters, who tell us that the participation in golf may be down. We have a lot of golf courses that are closing. The equipment market in the U.S. last year was about $2.5 billion, and they are quick to say a 3% decrease over the year before. And there may be some truth to that, but your business is wrapped up in taking risks based on long-term growth. So what do you say about all this?
Well, I think perhaps in the grand scheme of things, the pie perhaps got a little bit smaller. But when you talk about international golf travel and luxury spend, People are still entertaining customers, Rick. People are still taking people to big events like the Ryder Cup, and I think they will for many years to come. And so we're going to try to keep the product in front of them and keep them happy.
There is also an avidity attached to golf itself. When you combine avidity with European bashing, with patriotism, you heard some of the cheers out here. And by the way, they're still not here. So there are players holes and holes away, but yet you hear the national anthem, you hear the singing. But in all seriousness, if you're a corporation and you want to reach golfers or you want to reach your target audience, golf is still a pretty darn good spend, huh?
It certainly is, because not only are you always in a fun event and atmosphere such as this where patriotism is abound and everybody's having a good time, but to see the great golfers in the world out here in this beautiful setting, and it's just a great place to entertain clients and have a good time, and you get to spend some really good quality time with them. You know, it's not a 2-hour dinner. You can spend 8 hours with them having a glass of wine and watching the golf, and so yeah, I think it's a great way to really entrench a customer to your company.
PGA Junior League Golf, a team format for boys and girls 13 and under, has increased 233% in 2 years. And that's also partially their long-term planning, but obviously very important to get the kids, like your kids and everybody else, involved in perpetuating the game.
That's right. And, you know, if you go back to the mid-'90s when Tiger came on stage, there was a great rush for young golfers to perhaps be the next Tiger Woods. As he got older a little bit, there was a little bit of a void, but I think now with some of the young Jordan Spieth and whatnot, I think we might see it coming back. It's a game for the ages, Rick. You know that as well as I do. You can play golf when you're a young man. You can play golf until you're 87 years old like my father. And so it's a game that you can take all the way through life, always around really good people, and definitely I think there's still a good future.
And maybe more important than any of that, 18-year-old and older women, participation increased by nearly 5 million last year. So according to the numbers, and I guess that's important for your business as well?
It certainly is, yeah. I think because in the travel and tournament production business, you have a lot of couples that like to go out on trips. And if, it's not just a boys' buddy trip anymore, this is where, a husband and wife might want to go to the Ryder Cup in Paris in 2 years' time. What could be better than that?
Yeah, and the bottom line of all of this is we've had discussions about the business of golf. A lot of people will say golf is the forum which enables you to do better business. Is that, of all the trips that you deal with, that has to be one of your main mantras, right? To be able to generate some business as well as some fun opportunities internationally as well.
Absolutely, yeah. You meet contacts, you know. As big as the world of golf is, it's still a little bit of a family. You run into people at different events around the world and you cement old relationships. And that's one of the really fun things about it, is seeing familiar faces out here at a huge venue such as this.
What is your biggest opportunity growth region in the world right now for you?
I would say it's still in North America, to be honest. There's a lot of great new golf venues coming online, such as Sand Valley in the central Wisconsin, not too far from where we sit right now, in fact. It's a new Mike Kaiser design or development, similar to Bandon Dunes or up in Nova Scotia. So there's a lot of new places coming on board, and I think that North America is a great potential for us once again.
What about Brazil after the Olympics? Good, not so good?
Brazil has an attraction feature for maybe a third of the audience, and you always have people that have a little bit of apprehension about it. Personally, I've been there about 5 times. I think it's a great destination, and that golf course sure came off well. I think that's a good place.
I agree with that. Now, how quickly do you think the infrastructure in Brazil and South America catch up to the fervor?
Well, that's hard to say. There was a lot of doom and gloom predictions for that Olympics. How are they going to pull it off, etc. But they actually did a great job, Rick. The Olympics came off really well, and they've had a long tourism infrastructure there. And I think as long as they keep the safety and some kind of political stability there, that Brazil could benefit for years to come.
China, Far East, what about that?
China's going gangbusters. They're building courses there right and left. It's slowed a little bit lately, again, tied to their economy, I think, but I think China has great promise. There's a golf course in China called Shanken Bay. Probably 95% of the people out here have never heard it. It's a world top 100 golf course. You could put it against any golf course in the world. It is that good, Shanken Bay. And I think that's an example that they'll do the mass market, big, huge resorts and things like that. But when it comes to quality, they're willing to really spend the money and do in amazing places like Shanken Bay.
What's the weirdest, off the beaten track, but yet nicest golf course that you know in the world?
That's a great question. I'd have to think about that one a little bit. There's places in Kathmandu and there's places in Tunisia that North Americans wouldn't normally think about.
18-hole courses?
18-hole golf courses.
I played a course called Shishkin, which is in Scotland.
Right.
And it was a 12-hole course because it was great because I reported my score as an 18-hole score, and it was 70-something. It was wonderful.
Yeah, that would certainly help.
So Kathmandu?
Yeah, believe it or not, there's places all over the world. And so I think, and it's continuing to go along that way. So, they're popping up all over the place.
Economics of building courses. We have 15,000 in the U.S., they say. And, of course, the doom and gloomers are talking about all the courses that close. Are the closed courses bad management? Is golf reducing to the audiences that will buy? Are the rates too high? What is the future of building and developing public golf courses?
Well, I think a lot of the courses that have closed were either daily fee or what we'd call a spec course, where somebody gets a piece of property, they want to build a golf course to attract homes to be built around, and the homes don't sell as fast as they want to. Suddenly, the original developer comes into some financial hardship on it, and it's like restaurants or wineries. Sometimes the first owner may not make any money, the second owner make any money, but the third owner who gets it at the right price, he's the one that might make a go of it.
You've been around the business for 25 years. If you had a magic wand and you were a combination of Pete Pavacqua and Tim Fincham and Mike Wan and all those guys, what would you change in the industry?
I would put all my efforts into making golf fun for everybody. Perhaps not all of you have the major tournaments where you have very strict rules and things like that. But for youth and young women coming into the game, whatever it is, it doesn't have to be 18 holes and 5 hours at a private country club. Make 9-hole events, make 6-hole events, get people out there doing it, keep it fun, and that's how you're going to grow the game organically from the bottom up. And I think that's what the PGA and everybody has to do.
Are you taking advantage or are able to find ways to package in your tourism-oriented business the loosening up of people like Jack Nicklaus, who 20 years ago wanted to build the hardest courses in the world, and now it's let's take the 15-inch cups, or let's do tee forward and let's make it appeal to the 90% of the people who just want to enjoy it?
Yeah,
is there a future for that?
I think there is a future for that. And you start seeing at some top resorts, they're having different things. They're having the foot golf, with the soccer ball and hitting it into the big thing. And they're just trying to get more people out there to enjoy the outdoors. If you can sell people on the green grass and the smells that you get on a golf course and the beautiful settings that you might have in Scotland or in California along the water, wherever it is, I think that will just translate eventually into more people playing the game.
And by the way, when we were talking about that, we just heard a European response to a cheer. So here's a little bit of this, okay, just so we know. We'll have a chance to get out there on the course in a few minutes. So, Bill, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it. And your perspective on this, because you've covered the world in golf. And I guess the bottom line is, for your business, what does your business look like in the next 5 years?
Our business is strong right now, and I think as long as the overall American economy continues to flourish, as it has, we've had slow but steady growth over the last 7-8 years, and if we can continue along this track, it's going to be okay. And people still love to travel, Rick. People still like to take their golf clubs. They still like to go to exotic places. They still like to collect those world top 100 courses, and as long as those people out there, I think we're going to be just fine.
Thank you, Bill. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Rick.
We're going to spend a little bit of time showing you a panorama of a little bit of the course that we can show you. So with the help of our crack executive producer, Grant Hogan, we're going to step up over here. I'm going to walk over here, and we're at the Media Center. The Media Center, there are about 1,400, I'm told, specific credential requests. 200 countries around the world are participating in all of this. And the bottom line of this is that there are media relationships around the world. You take a look at the different languages, accents as well. Step over here. We've got a interesting opportunity here. I can get out of this now. You can just show what we've got and pan it a little bit. This is the practice green where it was ringed with people 40 minutes ago. By the way, there is a lot of discussion about patriotism crossing the line. Davis Love and there's a Love Clark, both captains here, and they got along really well. They hug each other in this practice green. They talk about life and business. These are entertainers first and sportsmen second, and then patriots, and they really don't get into the animosity as much as the fans might. There are some fans who are crossing the line. Rory McIlroy and Jordan Spieth were out here about 15 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago, talking about life in general, even though some people want to make a big deal out of the problems they might have had. Pan over here a little bit to the right, and you'll notice this is the 18th fairway and green. And the bottom line of all of this is that you're not going to see golf over here for another 4 hours. But yet there are 60 to 65,000 people here, and they're all spread out. One of the things that's going to happen later on today is they'll all come together at one hole, and they'll be waiting for the pivotal hole, whenever that'll be. It'll be a madhouse. This is like nothing you've ever seen, spectator-wise. But the Ryder Cup itself is an interesting dynamic, as we've said. 4,000 volunteers, 47 states, 12 countries, 41 countries and 6 continents worth of spectators here, which is great for the region. How great? Well, the economic impact for Chicago in 2012 at Medina was about 80 million, 90 million. This is going to be bigger. So we're talking about $120 million economic impact. They're wrapping around big stuff here in Minnesota. For those of you who are NFL fans, the Vikings played the Giants in a big Monday night game at the new U.S. Bank Stadium. You remember we took a tour of that on one of our earlier Facebook Lives. And a global media coverage, remember, 630 million homes, 200 countries, 26 hours of coverage on NBC Sports. But the pre-match festivities is way more than that. And when you look at the TV ratings for golf in general, 105 million people tuning in, a 22% increase, but 450 million visits for the digital platforms, and PGA Tour social media, 40 million followers. So obviously, it's a big deal. Finally, I just want to tell people that if you're sedentary and if you don't feel like enjoying golf, how about this? A walked 18-hole round is equivalent to a 5-mile walk. The 18 holes of golf, the blood glucose levels fall by 20% for the young, 10% for the middle-aged, and 30% for the rest of us. The total caloric expenditure for an 18-hole round, 2,000 calories for walking, 1,300, by the way, for riding a cart. So, but that doesn't mean if you're riding a cart, you can have the 8 or 9 cans of beer at the same time. That won't happen. And here's the bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, as you're looking at this once-in-a-lifetime experience and you're contemplating being one of the 70 million people that play golf, the older golfer tends to have better static and dynamic, balance control, and confidence than the non-golfing, older, healthy adult. And, according to medical reports, regardless of handicap, sex, or course played, golfers exceed 10,000 steps during a typical round, even in a golf cart, meeting the guideline for exercise recommended by both medical and clinical physicians. This is Hazeltine. Here is the Media Center. And I just wanted to thank Bill Hogan, but we also wanted to thank PGA of America for making the stats possible and making the access possible, and talking about an exciting Ryder Cup afternoon that we can watch them play on traditional media, but this is business. This is entertainment. This is corporate. and also the future of golf. Everybody talks about the reduction of equipment and the reduction of people in it. Tiger Woods may or may not ever come back, as we heard, but the Rory McIlroys, the Jordan Spieths, the Patrick Reeds continue to carry the day. The PGA of America simultaneously looking at expanding the minorities, the women, the kids, the millennials, and most important, corporate involvement and other involvement takes golf to an entirely new level. Remember, this is not golf. This is a forum to do business. At Hazeltine National, Rick Horrow, keeping score, Facebook Live. See you next time.